What is going on? This is Dylan with Dylan Talks Tone, and as promised, I have a video about this, the string Butler on the Epiphone Les Paul. We put it on the Epiphone Les Paul in this video. We're going to talk about it. We're going to show you the install. What is this thing supposed to do? Well, a lot of people claim, allege, have a problem with tuning stability on this style of peg head, where you have the strings that come through the nut at an angle. So they come obviously straight on this side, and then because of the design of the peg head, they angle out, right? And so that puts, sometimes it can put a bind on the nut right here on the inside, actually on the outsides of these nut slots, and it can cause tuning stability problems. So I guess the question is going to be then, does this thing work? Does it do what it says it does? And is it worth the 50 bucks? We put a link to it in the description if you want to try it. We're going to give this one away, so stay tuned for the end of the video for that. And let me show you, well, let's just get into putting it on, and I'll show you kind of some of the things that I learned as we went along. All right, so there's something kind of weird here that I already don't like, and I'm just going to mention it. So you're supposed to put the string Butler on, okay? And this is for quote-unquote vintage, they mean Gibson headstocks. And if you just install it this way, you are literally supposed to drill 2 holes and put screws in here to keep the tension from pulling up on it. I am not going to drill holes in my guitar. So that is strike number 1 against this thing. It says right in the directions, if you're going to install it on vintage style headstocks, and they show a picture of a Gibson headstock, to put 2 screws there. And I'm not going to do that. Now on acoustic guitars and other guitars, they say to put it backwards this way. We're going to put it on the Gibson way, but I'm not going to drill holes. I'll give you these 2 washers to put on the guitar so you don't scratch the guitar. Then you put your tuner nuts back on, and at this point they don't want you to tighten this up, because what you're going to then do is be able to kind of slide this back and forth a little bit, see that, and get that 100% perfectly centered once we get strings on it. So I'm going to go ahead and restring the guitar, and then we'll see what happens. This guitar was top wrapped. Look at what it does to the string. You know how I feel about top wrapping. It's the stupidest thing ever. Look what it does to the string. Tell me how that makes any sense. Like this thing was supposed to be designed to be top wrapped. Another little side note. There's an Epiphone tailpiece. It's got these little spring steels in there so that when you spring that onto the posts for the stop tail, it doesn't come off. Doesn't fall off. That's really cool. And I'm not saying we're going to start any kind of my Epiphone is as good as a Gibson, because it's not. Why don't they put those on more expensive guitars? That's really cool. Probably because it's not vintagey enough. Okay, problem number 2 with this thing I don't like is, you see with it underneath the tuning post, the screw, the retainer nut is right up against the hole to put the string in. So when we go to put this in here, trying to hold the camera and the string at the same time. Give me 1 second. See how much less room there is in there? So getting effective winds on there and stuff. We'll see how it goes, but I don't like that. Alright, so the string Butler is installed. I mean, I guess the strings are straighter, but they're not straight. I'm not convinced that it fixes anything. I mean, I moved it back and forth, and moved it back and to get it where I wanted it to be. Here's the deal. This nut was cut pretty well already, and now you can see there, it's like the string's not in the right place in the nut now. This is a plastic cheap nut on an Epiphone Les Paul Standard, and it was fine. You can see where the nut direction changes as the string goes through it, and now we've moved, for example, the D string, moved it that way in the nut slot. I don't know that we're fixing any problems, and then we're adding complication. It's just it's a weird one. I mean, does it do what they say it does? I mean, yeah, it straightens the strings. Do we need it? That's a good question. Okay, so now that this thing is on the Epiphone Les Paul, I just asked the question, do we need it? Let's review what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to straighten the strings, which it does, and make it into like a straighter pull so that you don't have binding in the nut and you have greater tuning stability. And it does that. It does straighten the strings in the nut. Here's the problem. There's a couple problems, and I already outlined them, but we're just going to review them real quick. One is, I don't like how the low E doesn't allow you very much room for a string to go through the hole. Not super stoked about that. Not super stoked about the fact that in this design, technically you're supposed to have 2 screws to actually, and I can see how it like raises it up. Like it is got tension on it. And so there should be 2 screws here to hold it to the peg head. I'm not drilling a hole in my Gibson. I'm not drilling a hole in my Epiphone. I'm not doing it. Not for this. It makes string changes very, very cumbersome. Way more cumbersome than they normally are. And I am a fan of fast and easy string changes, both for when you're playing live and just because not everybody likes to change strings. Why make it harder? It doesn't make sense. So, and then the other thing is, if the nut is already cut properly, then you're kind of creating the problem that you thought you were solving. I just showed you how it kind of kicks the string to one side in this nut slot. So here's the deal. Should you buy one of these? I'm not going to tell you no. I'm not going to say no. There might be certain circumstances and certain peg head arrangements where this would be necessary. However, on Amazon, I'll leave a link to it in the description. On Amazon, and please, if you want one, use that link because it does help support the channel a little bit. It's like $50 to my door, right? With shipping, and we pay tax on Amazon now. So it was like $52 to my door. For $52, most places you can get a pretty good setup on your guitar. For $52, you could at least get somebody to look at the nut on your guitar and cut the slots properly so that you don't have to have this problem, so that you wouldn't need this device on your guitar. So, and then that would be a longer term solution. It would be more convenient, and you wouldn't have this gimmicky thing on your guitar. I'm not saying it's gimmicky because it does what it says it's supposed to do, but you don't need it to do what it says it's supposed to do if your guitar is set up correctly. And then you don't introduce these other inconveniences to it at the same time. Now, that being said, if you do not have access to an economical and good setup on your guitar, if you do not have, the knowledge or, the skills to do it yourself, nuts can be a scary thing. You screw it up and you got to do it again, and, it turns into a deal. I could understand it. There are probably some crazy peg heads somewhere, like a Dean V or something, that could probably really benefit from this. But when you use it, just know that your nut slots, now my strings are going opposite direction of what my nut slots are. This is a cheap guitar too. This is just a Les Paul Epiphone standard. You can get these for $400 on Craigslist, $300 on Craigslist all day long, and the nut is cut correctly. Newer Gibsons, same thing. So it's kind of answering a question that nobody's ever really asked, except in certain circumstances. I'm not saying it's never applicable, but a good setup would make this a moot point. I'm going to go ahead and take it back off of here. I know other YouTubers have like done long-term tests and does it help your tuning stability, blah, 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 blah. I will tell you right now on this guitar, I already know that it will not, because the nut doesn't line up with the strings anymore. I know that 100% for sure, so I'm not even going to leave it on here. I'm going to put it back in the bag. If you have a guitar that you think this will benefit from, put it in the comments within the first 24 hours of this video coming out, and maybe I'll send it to you and you can try it, with the caveat that if you try it and it works for you, please get back to me, put it in the comments and let me know that it works. If it does not work for you and you do not like it, please give it to someone else who you think might benefit from it. Do not sell it. Don't put it on eBay. Just give it to somebody else and pay it forward. I would just ask that you do that when we give this stuff away. That would be awesome. If you want to learn more about guitar setup stuff, you can go to our Patreon page. We just finished a 4-part series, and they are up for, you can watch them. Yeah. So anyway, it's really cool. There's a link to it in the description if you want to buy one. Like I said, it's right around 50 bucks by the time it got shipped to my door. Yeah, it's very, very interesting. I am very, I mean, I kind of get it, but I'm not going to put one on my guitar for a long-term solution. You might have a guitar that would work for. Make sure that you check out make sure you check out the links below. Audible sponsors our podcast, our YouTube channel. DistroKid sponsors our YouTube channel, and we've got links to that stuff below. Please check that stuff out for me. Click it out, click through it, check it out. That'd be killer. And make sure that you stay tuned for more videos coming this week, because we're going to shoot some more. We're going to do some more stuff. I'm kind of excited. Probably with this guitar, I think we're going to put some pickups in it. We're going to try some various things with this Epiphone Les Paul. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you maybe tomorrow. Yeah, maybe.